Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to make a puzzle cube case. As you can see, I have an example on my screen. You'll notice that it has an engraved name in the case. It has some holes in it. I'm going to rotate this a bit. You can see there's a hole in the bottom as well. And there's reasons for these different things. And we're going to make one of these right now for your puzzle cube. So the first step is going to be making a new folder called case. You'll click plus, create folder, and then rename it case. You'll just keep your things more organized. Now I already have the folder made, so I'm going to now make a folder for, a new file for my part, which is going to become this object on the screen. So I have a part studio going. Just like we started all of our projects, you click up here to sketch. What plane am I going to work on? I'll click on front. So I'm just going to move this up here again. And then I'll just rotate this to see the front. I want to choose a corner rectangle, just like we've started every project. And I'm just going to make a square-ish shape and tell it how big to be. Now for this project, to make this work properly with the 3D printers, we're going to make this 2.6 and make it 2.6 square. And we'll finish that sketch. Now we have this 2.6 square two-dimensional shape. I'm going to click on isometric so I can see what I'm doing. And again, going to extrude and the object I want. And I'll also make this 2.6. Now I'm going to finish that off. And now we're going to use a new tool that we haven't used, which is really cool, called Shell. Shell lives right here. You may have to expand a menu if you have kind of a tight screen, but it looks like this. It says Shell. I'm going to click on the tool. I'm going to click, I want to make sure that it says faces to remove, shell thickness 0.1. 0.1 gives us a reasonably solid shell and 3D prints well, and also everything's kind of sized for that for this project. And I'll click on the top of the box. Hey, that's cool. I'm going to finish that up, and I have now made a box with no top that is 2.6 with 0.1 inch thickness walls. I'm going to click back to isometric just to kind of standardize my view. Now I want to make some of those big, interesting holes in the sides. Now you could kind of draw anything you want. You're going to do a sketch, click on which face you want, and then rotate it that way. In my case, I'm just going to choose this polygon tool. You could choose, lines and circles and other shapes and make up a shape that you want. I'm just going to stick to this because it's pretty straightforward. Now I want to center this on my side just because I think that looks nice. You could have stuff offset if you want. You could have multiple shapes, but you want something that's reasonably large enough so that you can see the detail of your puzzle cube that's stored inside this. So I'm going to choose this polygon. And let me just get this squared up. And if you notice, when you rotate on the polygon tool, you can increase the number of sides. If you increase a whole bunch, you're going to have a circle. You might as well just use the circle tool, which is fine. I'm just choosing to use this one 6-sided. Now, one thing that you'll notice is I'm not in the center. I want to make this in the center by clicking on the center point of this object. And remember, my distance of my each side is 2.6. So I want to go 1.3. And don't worry about that part yet. And 1.3. As you can see that my polygon is not rotated maybe the way I might want it. And what I can do is there's a little tool here next to your dimensional tool. I can drop this down and pick a different thing to a different way I can constrain this. I'm going to choose the parallel tool. I'm going to select this face and the top of my box. And there I go. Now, if you don't like the size of this, you could change how big a side is. It doesn't matter which side on this particular one. But let's just say I want to make this bigger. There you go. Everything's uniform. So that size and shape and position looks good. I'm going to finish this sketch. And now I'm going to use the extrude tool, but this time I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to select my object that I just drew, and I'm going to choose remove. And I want to punch this through both sides just because I think that will look good. You don't have to. You could have a different shape on the other side. That's fine. And I'm going to just make sure it goes through the entire cube, which is 2.6. I'll just call this 3. And let's remove that. As you can see, I have a hole that goes through that is a polygon shape. Now, if you're ever messing around with stuff and you're like, oh man, like where did my stuff go? You can always just click over here, go to isometric, and it will kind of be a nice home view. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to put that circle on the bottom. This could be any shape. I'm finding a circle works well. And the main point of the circle is so if your puzzle cube gets jammed in there, say it swells up, it gets humid or whatever, you can push it out. It doesn't have to be a circle, but a circle is pretty convenient. Again, I'll just kind of be somewhere in the middle-ish. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to tell this one how big to be again. I found that 1 inch for this works good. You could change that up whatever you want, as long as it's not too small for you to be able to push through or too big that the whole thing will fall through. But, obviously that's not really going to happen. Next thing, I will position this. And again, we knew that the whole thing was 2.6, so 1.3 gets us where we want. And I also want to go to either a top or bottom edge. Same thing, 1.3. Now that's centered, and I'm going to punch this one out too. And remove. And 1 inch is fine because I'm not going through another surface because there's no top. And isometric view. Now I've got that nice hole in the bottom. So the next thing I want to do is put some letters on this. I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to click on a face. I'm going to rotate to the face. And I'm going to choose letters. Now, I'm going to move this because it's going to be in my way for what I'm going to show you next. I'm going to draw out a box here. And I'm going to select bold because when you 3D print, you want text that's not too fine. Otherwise, it will not 3D print very well. And you could choose to change the font, but please don't pick an unusual font. The 3D printer may have trouble rendering it, and it can't be a font that's too thin. So please don't do italics, don't do script or something like that. You want kind of big, chunkier letters if this is going to 3D print out well. So I'm going to type in what I want on this cube. And for this project, I will specify in the instructions what you have to have. You do have to have your name on it. I'm probably going to have you have your class period on it. I have to be able to give these back to you guys and know whose they go to. So this is looking good for my example. I'm going to click this green check. But before I do, after I click this check, it's going to be huge and look weird. It's fine. I'm going to walk you through the steps for how we're going to resize it and make it where we want. So there we go. First thing I want to do is see how this corner is kind of up near the corner of this. I want to kind of lock it in space. Okay, as you can see, it's just too big. So what I'm going to do here is resize this. First thing I will do is specify how far it is from that edge. I'll call it 0.1. Also going to do the same from here to the top, 0.1. And now, since I've kind of locked this in space, I can edit these later at any point. I'm going to say how big the whole thing is. And for the width of this, I have to fit it on side of my cube, and the cube is 2.6. So maybe let's try 2.25. And that looks like it fits pretty well. Depending on what you've typed here, you may need to resize that, and that's fine. I want to probably kick this over. It's personal preference. I'm going to kick this over here a little bit using this one. I'll call this maybe 0.2, and I'll zoom back in. I'm good with that. I think that will be fine. I will green check that. I'm going to isometric to see what I'm doing. I'll zoom in just for your so you can see it better. And I'm going to click on extrude, click on my letters, and I do not want to cut these all the way out. If I do, it's going to 3D print wrong. I don't want to have these sticking out either because that's going to be really slow down the 3D printing and also maybe cause some bits to fall off. So for this process, we're just going to recess them slightly. So I'm going to go to remove, but instead of 1 inch, remember my walls are 0.1. I'll try 0.02 and we'll check that out. So if I look at 0.02, they're recessed, but they still leave plenty of strength on the wall, and I've gotten this to really show up. Now I'm going to just close this menu just to give you guys some more space. You can see what's going on. I'm going to click on isometric. Now for this product, I'm going to give you guys a list of what colors are available. If I get your product towards the beginning, not right up at the end of the project, you know, I might have some leeway and like, hey, the 3D printer set up with a color you want. I'll try to print that for you if I can. So if you make it the color, it'll show up in your drawing and we can kind of go from there. You know, I may run out of colors. I may have a whole bunch to do and I just have room on a 3D printer and it's going to be a certain color, but I'll do what I can, especially for the ones that kind of get done on the early side of the project. So to specify the color, you're going to click and drag to select and right click and choose edit appearance and pick the color that you think you want. You know, there's different shades. Don't worry about the shade because there's for the 3D printing colors, there's usually just a solid color I have. As long as it's clearly indicated, like if I say I want a purple one, any of these will be fine. I'm just going to click this one. You know, if I see that, I know you want purple. If I have purple, I will try to give it to you. So there you go. That is the Puzzle Cube case. These are going to have a lid. I'm going to just provide you with a lid for the color that you have selected. It's going to be a generic lid that fits, recesses, has a top that fits down inside there so it can't fall off and slide. If you wanted a custom lid, you can check in with me. I can give you the specs for that and you can customize it. But at this point, you are done with this part of the project. The next step will be making the drawing, which I'll post later. That's it, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.